Services, we understood that there might be some medical concerns that Ms. Potts had about Bordeaux.
So I wanted to come over and see how many dogs were outside when we just got the dog and pony show in the commissioners meeting. Yeah, they have put up plexiglass shields.
Can you stop the clock for my time or have her removed?
Stephanie, we can't have outbursts in here. If you make another outburst, you'll be removed from the meeting. Thanks for your comments. They're always so insightful.
So today, on the 16th of October, it was another exciting day at the commissioners meeting relating to the perennial topic of the animal shelter. And so you saw a little quick upfront rundown of some of the highlights. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and play some clips from the meeting. Every one of them I'm going to have speeded up by 33% to make them a little quicker to go through. I'll try to be quicker than I usually am going through them. and not interrupt maybe as much, but don't count on that 100%. And there are 7 clips from the meeting and from outside the meeting too, because I took some clips from outside the meeting as well. So the first clip is going to be a woman named Stephanie Freeborn. She spoke, and she's spoken many times. I don't really know her well. I've spoken to her, but she has been there at many of these meetings. But at first, she was asking, this is just part of her public participation, and she was asking about a specific dog named Bordeaux and that dog getting out to a rescue.
Someone on site has already reported on October 11th that there are dogs at the shelter in cages that are much too small to accommodate them, and that they are living in these insufficiently sized cages for up to 23 hours a day. A dog at the shelter named Bordeaux is self-harming by constantly biting on her cage door to get out until her mouth is bloody, as she is suffering mentally from being forced to live in a cage for months. David Painter, just last week, you denied this dog named Bordeaux, who is suffering, from being able to go into a rescue where she could get relief from her suffering and all of the proper care that they could provide. Can you explain to our community why you are not acting in the best interest of these dogs and allowing the volunteers to start immediately moving these over 80 dogs out into rescues? And David Painter, I'm asking you to answer that today.
And here's my answer. You wanted it. I didn't deny removing a dog, period. Never made a decision like that. And again, you come before this board and give false information.
That's not true.
That is true.
Michelle Gonzalez, a
I've never
volunteer on
talked.
site,
I've never talked to Michelle
reported
Gonzalez.
that you denied Bordeaux going to the League for Animal Welfare.
If you know anything about the Board of Commissioners, one commissioner doesn't make a decision. And I've never spoken.
There was already a discussion about this.
There's
in
no sense in us
another
going back and
commissioners
forth.
meeting.
You have
But
five.
You
You have 5 minutes.
Your acting shelter director sent an email to the volunteers stating that she was requiring board approval for animals to go into rescues. And they have that email, Dave.
We went over that last week here, and we told you that that's not the case.
We've got
So,
the email.
so I don't. So you have an email. Did that email come from Dave Painter?
It came from your shelter
Hold on,
director.
hold
This
on.
is direction from
Hold
you.
on. Did it come from Dave Painter?
It came from your
It
shelter
didn't
director.
come from me, right? Right?
It came from your shelter director.
You have 16 seconds.
Okay, so you want to talk about digging a effing hole. This has got to be the dumbest commissioner ever. So she's talking about some email from the acting director, which I guess is Angie Livesay, about this dog Bordeaux, and that the commissioners, I guess, hadn't approved it. And then he's saying, well, if the email's not for me, it's not my problem. Talk about Mr. Accountability. He's in the wrong party. If he was no accountability. But remember what he said, because we're going to come back right to another clip here. He said one commissioner can't make the decision. One commissioner can't make the decision, which implies what she's saying is true, that the commissioners have to approve these dogs going out to rescues. Now, another woman talked. I'm not going to play her talking, but at the end, this thing comes up again about releasing an animal to rescues. Let's watch that.
Before you leave, I just want to address one thing. This commission does not make a determination on every dog that leaves that shelter. You know, Angie has the full authority of this board to act on their behalf.
Now, remember, just a second ago, he said to Stephanie Freeborn that not one commissioner could make the decision. He didn't say that Angie could make the decisions on her own. So this bullshit is starting to get thick here again, and then why you can't trust anything these guys say.
The only issue that ever came up at that shelter was that dogs were actually removed from that shelter without anyone from the staff knowing it. And so Angie asked for that not to happen. She needs to know where they go, because as you know, a lot of times when they go into foster, many times they're requested back for a particular issue. You've already talked. There's not going to be any.
So here we go. So Stephanie starts yelling out from the audience. Not the first. This won't be the first time. Asking about, okay, so what's the right answer? Can animals be released to rescue? By the way, these clowns have been running this shelter for 3.5 years. This should be a black and white, simple, this is the process, not some rope-a-dope where you feel like you're getting every different answers every meeting and multiple answers per meeting. So Stephanie starts yelling from the audience.
Are they allowed to be
You-
moved into rescues right now?
Yeah.
Answer, yes or no?
You've already talked, but the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So let's move on.
So notice he didn't say in what context the answer is yes. He kind of implied at one point Angie can just do it on her own. Now the answer is yes. Before he said not one commissioner alone can make a decision. It's all bullshit. This is 3.5 hours. If you ran a company with any of these people, all of them fired. You're all fired. We're bringing a whole new staff at this location of the company. So that's the second time. That's when Stephanie spoke up from the audience. Now it's my public participation. So here's me going.
I just want to comment first.
Hold on. I don't know who it was. I think it was Claire maybe, but you notice somebody goes, oh, okay, Chris is going to talk again. You know, so I appreciate that actually. Let's keep going.
I'm Chris X 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio. I want to comment first on the woman that read the letter. I have a condo in Charlotte County, Florida, and that's a normal part of public participation, that citizens can submit letters and they get read by a staff member so that people that can't come to a meeting can have their voice heard from the podium. That would be a thing you should have done a long time ago because I brought it up before. Okay.
So they let a woman read a letter that somebody else had given her that for 5 minutes. Then she got 5 minutes. So here's the key. Message me. If you have a letter you want read at public participation, I'll be glad to read it for you, because we've now set the standard with the one woman who was saying complimentary things towards in many regards towards this, that you can read a letter from another person and then you get your 5 minutes too. So send me letters and I'll go and read them for you at the commissioners meeting. I have the right to refuse any letter if I don't like it. If I think it's you try to set me up to read something stupid, I'm not going to do that. But I'll go read the letter, because now Commissioner Painter set the standard that if people bring letters from other people and come at 10 o'clock in the morning to a commissioners meeting, they can read the letters and get 5 minutes per letter, plus they get 5 minutes for themselves. So that's a great play. I commented that in where our condo is, my wife's and my condo is in Florida, they actually have a staff person read letters that have been submitted. So it's part of their meetings. And it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? When the meetings are at 10 o'clock, when people are working to pay their taxes to support these sponges, or these leeches might be the word I would use in government, that live high on the taxpayers' money. Let's keep going in my participation.
Now, let me get into it. One of the speakers said they don't care about who runs the shelter. I do. Okay. The amount of problems that have resulted from the county taking over the shelter is undeniable. Both of the prior Humane Society operators, I'm sure, weren't perfect, but neither of them caused what's happened here. Neither of them have caused the disgusting decay of that place, the lack of cats, et cetera, et cetera. On these, since Stephanie spoke out of turn, on Bordeaux. So can you answer? Is Bordeaux, is that the name? Bordeaux allowed to be gone to a Humane Society? Stephanie, please. Can you stop the clock for my time, or have her removed?
Stephanie, we can't have outbursts in here. If you make another outburst, you'll be removed from the meeting. So you've had your opportunity to speak. And so now we've addressed that. Thank you.
And I agree with that. I have the floor to speak now.
Go ahead,
okay?
Mr. Hicks.
But can you answer the question that she asked about Bordeaux? You seem confused because you said to her that it required board decision, but then you said Angie could decide just a second ago. So can you answer that question? Can Bordeaux be sent to a rescue?
Absolutely. If he's
okay, you have your answer. Now, the things I've actually wanted to get at is, last time I asked to be able to film at the shelter afterwards. You said from that podium, the answer is not yes, the answer is not no. Then you took the press over there, locked me out, refused to let me in. Notice the press isn't here. They've done their job. Cover for these guys. They've done their job. Okay. So today, can I go over and film?
Mr. Hicks, I'm not going to address you today because the last time when I tried to do.
So here's what's so dumb. He's going to say that he's not going to address me because I accused him of taking my time last time. So he won't answer my question because of that. How did your mind come up with these stupid effing ass things that David Painter comes up with? He can't answer a yes or no question on whether I can film because he says I'm going to accuse him of taking up my time by answering a yes or no question that I asked him. This guy there's something mentally wrong with this guy.
Because you're full of crap, Dave. Because you said yes or no.
You accused me of taking up your time.
Can I? Yeah, that's it. Can I go over and film today? So this says it all, right? We can't. No, the citizens, the press, Dog and Pony Show, Local 12 in particular, dirtbag reporters can cover for these guys, but a citizen's not allowed to go in and film. But the press can do their bullshit Dog and Pony show. Okay,
here's what I didn't know at the time. They had a Dog and Pony Show planned. It's coming up, so stay tuned. There's going to be the commissioner's propaganda, communistic propaganda Dog and Pony Show with Angie Livesey in a second, and it's a train wreck.
The things I really wanted to hit on. The November 2nd event, it's going to happen whether we do the slate cards or not. We're going to turn it into a Republicans for the Shelter being reformed event. We will use electronic keypads, so every person that shows up will be able to give input. We'll have a roundtable. I'll invite panelists to talk about it because these guys do not represent conservative Republican values. Nobody has a government-run shelter. We're the only county that I know of that has a government-run shelter. So I did go back.
So November 2nd, 1 o'clock, Miami Township Library branch. It could change a little bit the time because we have the room from 1 to 4. But we're going to have a roundtable forum. I'm already talking to some people about being panelists. I'm talking about fixing the shelter and conservatives, Republicans, and their friends, who want a properly functioning shelter within Claremont County.
And look at the October 2nd meeting, because you talked about this in commissioner comments late in the meeting after executive session. So I paid close attention to that. Mr. Painter, I would describe your comments in that meeting as ridiculous, putting poison pills into things.
So in an October 2nd meeting, at the very end of the meeting, after executive session, after everything else, the commissioners talked about the shelter, and David Painter said a bunch of nonsense, like that they should have the shelter the operator, the Humane Society would have to take responsibility for the building, for the vehicles, for all this kind of stuff. Quite a few of those things aren't statutorily permitted that they do that. The county has to do those things. And so it was clearly Painter in the October 2nd meeting. You can go back and watch on the commissioner's YouTube page, that meeting towards the end when they talk about it. He's clearly trying to poison any bid to make sure that nobody can actually be successful as a Humane Society. I don't know what's in this guy's head. I don't know. You have to be a more functional moron to want to keep in this quagmire. It'd be like you're in the middle of Vietnam and they say, hey, do you want to go home? And you're like, no, I love it here. I love it here. And that's the way he behaves.
Because you talk about, we'd have to have that the Humane Society take responsibility for the building, et cetera, et cetera. You know that the county is required to have the building. You know that the county is required to have the dog warden. So it's not everything's outsourced. You have to have a building. So that was completely disingenuous, or you're not competent after 3.5 years to know what the county's responsibilities are versus what a Humane Society's responsibilities are. In terms of the bid, this notion that getting a bid out the door will take months is a lie. They had a bid before, right? The issue with the bid wasn't the bid. The issue with the bid was a disagreement is the amount of money the Humane Society operator needed. Dust off that bid, Mr. Eigel. Update that a little bit. Don't put in the poison pill shit he's talking about putting in to make it impossible because it's asking the operator to do things that they legally can't do. Take that bid. And if you're confused, I think there's 87 other counties. I'm waiting for a number of another county that has a government-run shelter that have Humane Society operators. They have lots of sample bids. Why don't you go to Hamilton County and get a bid pack from them, see what they did. The notion that there cannot be a bid out the door fast is a lie. The other thing, you guys never took official action to say you were putting it up for bid. You just did some sort of folksy, oh yeah, we're going to do it. Hey, Mr. Eigel, do it. Why don't you take an official vote on the record that you're putting the shelter out to bid from Humane Society? Because nobody trusts you. Nobody trusts you. Who here trusts them? You trust them? Man, you are, okay, I'd hate to be you. So
out of the whole room, and there were still, now the county employees are probably afraid to make any move, okay? But only one woman raises her hand. She later talked in public participation, and for a time, I was going to talk about her public participation. But man, I'm telling you, lady, if you hear this, if you believe that you trust politicians because we pay them, that was part of her remarks. We pay these guys, we elect them, we should got to trust them. You're got to have your head effing examined. In 2024, any human being that tells you they trust politicians, I don't trust any politician. I'm about the biggest Trump guy you could have. That doesn't mean I even trust Donald Trump. I will measure Donald Trump on his actions. I will measure JD Vance on their actions. So the notion of somebody trusting, but one person raised their hand out of the whole room that they trusted these guys.
everybody else, except for one woman, doesn't trust them. Okay, so it is time to try to start restoring trust, not with shutting down her, even though she shouldn't have had outbursts, not with not letting me film, and not with some bullshit about how you can't do a bid quick. You can do a bid right now. Dust off the old one, Mr. Eigel. You already did it a few years ago, and the dispute was not over the bid. The dispute was over the amount of money required. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. They're always so insightful.
So what you got to love is David Painter can't resist. He's a petty, petty man. I used to call him Mr. Thin Skin. I got to bring that back. Mr. Thin Skin. So when he says at the end, my comments are so insightful, the guy is just this is the mediocrity we get. And this cannot be, this is how Republicans are going to lose control of this county, by continuing to have these mediocre people who are petty, thin skinned, and can't solve problems. These guys actually create problems that then they can't solve. And as I said before, the shelter is not a one-off. This is the way county government is. It's just there's a lot of attention from on the shelter because of the volunteers and other people that care a lot about this subject. But I guarantee you go dig into other parts of the way the county's run, same shit. Dysfunctional, incompetent leadership, inability to take responsibility, pettiness, all of that. So that was me. Now, then they did this like dog and pony show tour, maybe anticipating I'm going to keep asking about filming. rather than just letting me film, because these guys are unbelievably dumb. Okay. They keep trying to do this thing. Let in the CBS, local CBS affiliate. So Channel 12, the local CBS, I can't make it up. The local CBS affiliate in to film. Maybe they can do some edits on a show of how people answered. But they're going to do this dog and pony show tour via Zoom from Angie Livesey over at the shelter. Now, in the room, I bolted out of the room. I'll tell you why in a second here. But in the room, you could hear it okay. But the actual when you go look at it on the YouTube page, this is how it sounds.
For complaint services, we understood that there might be some medical concerns that Ms. Potts had about Bordeaux.
So we did
offer,
offer,
at
that
that
point
point,
throughout.
So the whole thing on the commissioner's YouTube page is completely inaudible. It's like super echoey, all that kind of stuff. So what I did though is I took the whole tour that she did. I took out the audio because it drives you crazy. I sped it up like 5-6 times. And so I'm going to play through here. This is the whole big tour. This is convincing you that the shelter is A-okay, no problem. Look at that. All the hallways look good. Oh, look, there's some cages back here. A lot of them don't have dogs in. I wonder where oh, now we lost the signal. Now we're back somewhere else. I think, and nope, lost the signal. Now there's somebody, I don't know what we're doing. We're back going through a door, some more dogs, something back here. You know, lost the signal again on the big tour. Okay, now we're going around again, going somewhere else. Isn't this really telling you everything you need to know? This is like unbelievably good. Now we get to see the ear, the nose. Looks like, oh, lost the signal again. Okay. Now we came back to the room. Now we're walking around some more. And okay. So that is the tour that she did. Okay. What I did was, while that tour, I sat there for a few seconds and I realized, oh, there's some fucking dog and pony show. So I decided I'm going to bolt out of the room and run over to the shelter to see what's actually going on at the shelter. Okay. So, because I figured if they are doing a dog and pony show with Angie remote from the shelter to make it look beautiful, they've probably dumped all the dogs outside or something so that it looks okay inside. And guess what I found? Guess what I found when I got over to the shelter? So let's watch what happens when I get over the shelter.
So they just did a thing, but they won't let citizens film within the shelter. So I wanted to come over and see how many dogs were outside when we just got the dog and pony show in the commissioners meeting of the shelter with Angie Livesey. I did not see that, but.
Well, if you have any questions, sir, just let me know, okay?
Okay. Are you on the staff or are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
So if you have any questions, let me know. Have a nice day, sir.
Okay. When's the temperature when you want to leave them outside like this?
I'm sorry, what?
What's the temperature range where dogs you would leave them outside like this or not?
Leave them out overnight?
Or like now?
It depends on weather conditions.
Okay.
It's a weather condition thing, unfortunately, sir.
Okay, so are these all, can I walk down there and film along there?
It's public. I
Okay.
can't stop you. You can't go inside, but you can film out here.
Okay, I can go inside. I know that part.
No, you can't go past this gate.
Oh, yeah.
You can't
Okay.
go in the back
Yeah,
area.
yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, you just got to go through volunteer orientation to be able to go in the back, but you can't go in.
I just want to say this thing with these panels is like the puppy mills look better than this. Puppy mills in an expose look better than this. This hillbilly shit hanging on the fences because these things were built by the commissioners without facility for shade. If you look close, those little bed things, some of them are full of water. When I walk down this is just reprehensible. It's embarrassing. It is just embarrassing. And it goes on and on. I mean, I guess the big improvements, and there are improvements, is that these things are up on the fences. Over the last couple months, I've seen it change from, 2-3 months when I've gone there to nothing, to dogs in the sun, to, tarps over, and then more like tarps on the sides here because the dogs get pounded by the sun during the day in the summer. Now we're getting into more of the cold air. Let's keep rolling, though, on my walking down this line.
To this area or into the back area?
Okay.
Okay.
So these dogs at night, they all get taken in? These dogs all get taken inside at night?
Will they get taken in before we close? Yeah.
Okay.
We
Okay.
rotate.
So just ponder that. He says they get taken in when we close. That's 4 p.m. So Angie Livesey films in the shelter when none of these dogs are in there. They're all loaded outside. When I was there the week before, there weren't all these dogs loaded outside. So they must have been in the back room. I don't know where the hell they were. Now you got all these dogs loaded outside. They all go back in at 4 p.m. I don't know when they come out, but I don't know that any of that was covered in the walkthrough. It doesn't look like it. Looked like she might have tried to walk outside, but then there was no connection and turned right back around. But I keep walking.
Okay. Okay.
By the way, there's actually some cute dogs here. They have PTSD from the gun range, but there were some cute dogs. I told my wife.
So while the dog and pony show is going on in the shelter, the outside is packed full of dogs. I don't know if Angie went there because I booked out of the shelter meeting to come check
We're in
out of
that
the
one
commissioner
right there.
meeting to come see because I figured there would be a ton of dogs outside if Angie was filming inside to kind of hide the overcrowding or the situations of the dogs. So this is what's outside right now.
Yes, I was assuming a
I'm
cover-up.
going to go in and ask again if I can film since they just filmed. So I guess it doesn't open until, oh yeah, it is closed. So it doesn't open till noon. So the time that it was, the time that they were doing the walkthrough on the commissioners meeting was when the shelter is closed. Oh, by the way, there's new things in there. Is that new? Yeah, they have put up plexiglass shields between the staff and the desks. So I don't know if you can see that with the reflection, but they put in, there's plexiglass. I want to get that right up there. They've put in plexiglass walls between where the staff sits and the public. So we're getting more going down Rat Hill. I don't know if you can see it when I go because of the reflection. There's a lot of reflection in this glass. But there's plexiglass now mounted. I know where the plexiglass from the commissioners meeting went. It's now completely blocked off from the public from where the people sit at the desk. Oh, by the way, there's new things in there. Is that new? Yeah, they have put up plexiglass shields.
From that contract.
Okay, so that was the plexiglass shields that have been put up inside and walking around outside. Any of you that have been beyond the animal shelter will get a kick out of it because plexiglass Painter, when COVID happened, Painter had the entire commissioner's room basically plexiglass to impress Mike DeWine, and then wouldn't let citizens in the room and suspended public participation for over a year. And if you were a citizen, you went to a meeting, you got put in the conference room and you didn't have any of these protections. You can just die, So but the commissioners, they need to be in a bubble. But then on social media, if Painter's at like a ribbon cutting for a Domino's pizza or something like that, no man, just out there, no, it's so disingenuous. It is so phony. Now they come back. The last segment is the end of the meeting. So at the end of the meeting, they talk some more about the whole situation. Let me see. I don't know that I got this right lined up right here. Yeah. So the end of the meeting is here.
I would just say, Mr. Igold, that it was brought up about the contract, I guess, for the prior.
The request for proposal?
Yeah, do we still have that we could?
Yeah, I'm working on that. Yeah,
Okay.
I reviewed that initially, so I'm going to
Okay,
continue to work through it.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Obviously, there's some things on there that need to be reviewed. I'm sure we have,
Absolutely.
from that contract and then from operating the shelter, we've learned a lot of specifics about what we would want to see in a contract like that.
Yes, sir.
You bet.
So it is in the works for anybody listening.
Any other member comments?
Yes, sir.
Let's just talk about a few before we get out of here.
So before we get out of here with David Painter is I do appreciate, and I give Bonnie Batchelor a lot of crap. Okay. I do appreciate that she took the line on my point. You've already had a bid for the shelter. The issue with the bid was negotiation over the price. Now you know that the Humane Society operator was correct that you couldn't run it for the price you were wanting them to run it for. And so this notion you're going to take months to put together a bid or an RFP, that's a lie because you already have an RFP. You probably need to clean up a few little things. but it can be out the door fast. This is too important. There's literally, animal lives in the balance here. And it's gone on for 3.5 years. And they just keep making excuses, foot dragging, and show you how government can't solve problems. And let's keep watching the very end of the meeting now.
Obviously, we obviously get a lot of comments about the operation of the animal shelter. And a lot of comments were put out here today about disease and dogs in peril over at the shelter.
I didn't hear disease comments.
Angie, thank you so much for opening up the shelter today by Zoom so that people could actually see what the conditions were that were out there. There were many claims made in here today about dogs in pop-up crates. And unfortunately, when you take in 39 dogs from a particular place that they have existed into our kennel, you have to house them. Many of the overflow kennels around the Cincinnati area, every once in a while, you do have to go into pop-up kennels, and that is not a desirable condition. So I noticed from the walkthrough this morning that you've done everything you could to eliminate those pop-up kennels, and obviously some adoptions have occurred, and some of those dogs have made their way to fosters. And so thank you. We know that's a daunting task, and thanks to the people who work there every day that made it look like it did today.
So he ends with, thanks to the people that made it look like it did today. Think about that for a second. Who made it look like it did today for the photo op walkthrough. What didn't he include there? He did not thank the citizens for bringing to his attention the problem and helping him to see the light. He thanks Angie, and I think Angie just got a raise. He thanks the staff. These are government people, and the woman who trusts these people care about, who they care about first and foremost? Themselves. As Dan Bongino would say, they love you, they want to kiss your baby, but they're going to F you as soon as they get the opportunity. So that's an update for the shelter as it stands right now. And I hope to God these guys get this thing out for bid. And I want to make one little quick other story, and it's controversial because it comes from Andrew Tate. And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, but he had the description of how politicians have destroyed Western civilization. Okay. And he gave this example, which is true. In the United Arab Emirates, which is a emir runs the place, they have a day when you can come in every week and talk to the emir about problems, pothole on my street, whatever. And when you do this, because the guy, within like the next 2 days, it's fixed. And so the citizens come to appreciate that they can fix the problems, that they can actually fix the problems. Our politicians, Western politicians, have gotten into this paralysis that Dave Painter is the face of. They can never actually fix a problem. 3.5 years in, we never thought about having a new bid. All of a sudden now we're going to have a new bid. It's going to take us months to have a new bid. Western civilization is put at risk because of politicians like David Painter and government systems like we've had evolved in our Western countries where they can't solve problems. They can't solve your problems. They can't solve my problems. And for the woman that trusts them, what problems do they solve? What problems do they solve? Look at our country today. So I'm hoping that this problem gets solved. The way the contribution of the commissioners to solving it's going to be putting it out for bid and getting a good humane society in there. And that's about the best they can do. They're done. They are done. They can keep playing games. David Painter can keep hoping and praying. Because remember, even in his dream vision, it's a crappy shelter that doesn't have cats. And we've got to get back to either of the types of operations of the prior two humane societies that both had cats, both did a better job, both didn't have this constant meltdown in commissioners' meetings.